What if the next penny you pull from an old coffee can, dresser drawer, or forgotten coin jar could be worth more than a luxury mansion? It sounds impossible, yet that possibility is exactly why millions of Americans continue searching through pocket change. Today, we're looking at the 1967 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, a coin that appears ordinary at first glance, but has become one of the most closely inspected pennies among collectors. Before you spend another old cent, you may want to hear the full story, because the biggest surprise comes later. In 1967, the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents during a period when mint marks were temporarily removed from circulating coins to discourage theft and counterfeiting. That means every genuine 1967 Lincoln cent was struck without a mint mark, making the absence of one completely normal. But here's where the story changes. While most examples are worth only a few cents, a tiny number survived in astonishing condition or display remarkable minting errors that transformed them into collector treasures. Imagine two identical-looking pennies sitting side by side. One buys nothing more than a stick of gum, while the other attracts fierce bidding from elite collectors. That's the fascinating world of coin collecting. The difference often comes down to microscopic details that most people overlook every single day. Collectors pay extraordinary premiums for coins with blazing original red color, razor-sharp details, and virtually flawless surfaces. Add a dramatic mint error, and suddenly an ordinary penny enters an entirely different league. That's why experienced collectors never rush. They inspect every date, every letter, every edge, and every tiny feature before making a decision. Now here's the exciting part. Reports of exceptional 1967 Lincoln cents reaching astonishing auction prices have fueled nationwide interest, with the finest and rarest examples sometimes associated with values reaching around $752,000 when extraordinary rarity, condition, and unique characteristics align. These are not ordinary circulation coins but elite specimens that represent the absolute peak of preservation and desirability. So before excitement takes over, ask yourself one simple question. Have you ever looked at your old pennies under proper lighting? Most people haven't. That's a bit like buying a winning lottery ticket and never checking the numbers. Sounds funny, but it happens more often than you might think. If you own a 1967 Lincoln cent, examine the surfaces carefully. Look for crisp lettering, strong luster, unusual doubling, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or other striking mint errors. Even small differences can dramatically influence collector demand. Avoid cleaning the coin because a polished surface often destroys the very characteristics serious buyers want to see. And here's the lesson that reaches beyond coins. Extraordinary value is often hidden inside ordinary things that everyone else ignores. The person who slows down, learns the details, and recognizes opportunity is usually the one who benefits the most. So the next time a worn jar of pennies appears at a family estate sale, inside your grandparents' attic, or tucked away in an old toolbox, don't dismiss it as spare change. That humble 1967 Lincoln cent without a mint mark could simply be another common coin, or it could be the discovery that changes the story of your collection forever. The only way to know is to look before someone else does. Have you ever tossed a 1990 Lincoln penny into a jar without giving it a second thought? What if that tiny copper-colored coin has been hiding in plain sight for decades, waiting for someone to recognize what everyone else overlooked? Before you assume it's only worth 1 cent, stay with me, because one small detail can completely change the story. And by the end, you'll know exactly why collectors examine these pennies so carefully before letting them go. The 1990 Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint by the billions, making it seem like one of the most common coins in American history. At first glance, that sounds disappointing. After all, how could something produced in such enormous numbers ever become valuable? That's where the world of coin collecting becomes fascinating. Most 1990 pennies are worth only face value or a small premium if they remain in exceptional condition. But every now and then, a remarkable example appears. A coin preserved in nearly flawless mint condition, or one displaying a significant mint error, can capture the attention of serious collectors. Those are the coins that generate headlines, spark bidding wars, and remind us that rarity isn't always about age. Sometimes it's about survival. Think about it. Millions of these pennies entered circulation, They rattled through cash registers, sat in cup holders, disappeared beneath couch cushions, and filled piggy banks across America. Every scratch, every fingerprint, and every trip through circulation reduced the number of pristine survivors. It's almost funny. A coin can survive decades in a dusty coffee can but somehow get scratched 5 minutes after someone finally notices it. Now here's the question. What if the next penny you examine still has blazing original luster, razor-sharp details, and virtually no signs of wear? That's exactly the kind of discovery that keeps collectors searching through rolls of pennies year after year. And then there are mint errors. Off-center strikes, dramatic die cracks, doubled features, and other genuine production mistakes can transform an ordinary-looking cent into a highly desirable collectible. These are not everyday finds, but when authenticated, they often command prices far beyond face value. The combination of rarity, eye appeal, and collector demand determines what someone is willing to pay. You may have heard sensational stories claiming that a 1990 penny is worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Those headlines attract attention, but the reality is more nuanced. Extraordinary prices are associated only with exceptionally rare, authenticated coins possessing unique characteristics or extraordinary preservation. The average circulated example is not worth anywhere near those figures. So before you celebrate or toss your pennies aside, take a closer look. Check the mint mark beneath the date. Examine the surfaces under good lighting. Compare the lettering, the date, and the overall strike quality. If something appears unusual, resist the temptation to clean the coin. Cleaning almost always reduces collector value. The greatest treasure isn't simply finding a valuable coin. It's developing the knowledge to recognize one before everyone else does. Somewhere, another forgotten jar of pennies is waiting to be searched. And perhaps, hidden among thousands of ordinary cents, one remarkable 1990 Lincoln penny is still waiting for the person who knows exactly what to look for. Will that person be you? Have you ever looked at a handful of pennies and wondered if one tiny copper coin could quietly be worth more than a luxury home? It sounds unbelievable, yet stories like these are exactly why millions of Americans still check their pocket change. But here's the twist. The date alone is never enough. If you have a 1991 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, don't rush to celebrate just yet, because one small detail could make all the difference, and most people miss it completely. The 1991 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was struck for circulation at the Philadelphia Mint, where coins of that era typically carried no mint mark at all. Billions were produced, making ordinary examples worth only face value. That may sound disappointing, but this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. Hidden among countless common coins are incredibly rare pieces with extraordinary minting errors, exceptional preservation, or unique characteristics that collectors compete fiercely to own. Imagine cleaning out an old drawer, opening a forgotten coin jar, or finding a penny tucked inside a family album. Most people would spend it without a second thought. Collectors, however, know that patience often pays far better than luck. Isn't it funny how the smallest coin in your pocket can create the biggest argument at the kitchen table? One person says it's just a penny, while another reaches for a magnifying glass. Now here's where things become fascinating. Reports occasionally circulate about remarkable Lincoln cents commanding astonishing prices at major auctions. The highest values are tied to exceptionally rare circumstances, not to every 1991 penny. Claims of values reaching hundreds of thousands of dollars, even figures around $771,000, refer only to extraordinary coins with unique qualities that experts have authenticated, not to ordinary circulation pieces. That single fact separates a life-changing discovery from a common 1-cent coin. So what should you actually look for? Start with condition. A brilliant, nearly flawless coin is dramatically more desirable than one worn smooth after decades in circulation. Then examine it carefully for unusual doubling in the lettering, striking abnormalities, off-center designs, or other genuine mint errors. Original surfaces matter too. Ironically, the fastest way to reduce a coin's value is by polishing it until it shines. Collectors prefer originality over artificial beauty every single time. But before you toss your pennies back into a jar, ask yourself one question. What if the next coin you inspect is the one everyone else overlooked? History has rewarded careful eyes before, and it can do so again. Every remarkable discovery began with someone deciding to take a closer look instead of assuming the answer was obvious. The real treasure isn't simply finding a valuable coin. It's recognizing opportunity where others see almost nothing. The humble 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent reminds us that knowledge is often worth far more than luck. So before you spend another penny, slow down, inspect every detail, and remember that while most are ordinary, the rare exceptions continue to inspire collectors across America. Your next unforgettable discovery could already be waiting in your pocket, quietly hiding in plain sight. Have you ever tossed a 1993 Lincoln penny into a jar without a second thought? What if one simple cent hiding in your pocket change turned out to be worth far more than anyone around you imagined? Before you rush to empty the coin jar, there's something every collector and every hopeful seller should know. Because one tiny detail can separate an ordinary penny worth 1 cent from an extraordinary coin that collectors may compete to own. The 1993 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia, and millions were produced for everyday commerce. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. That is exactly what makes this story so fascinating. The most valuable coins rarely announce themselves. They quietly pass from hand to hand for years, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. Now here's the surprising part. While a typical 1993 no-mint mark penny is common, exceptional examples with remarkable preservation, unusual minting characteristics, or highly sought-after collectible qualities can attract serious attention in the numismatic market. The difference between an average coin and an elite collectible can be dramatic. Imagine discovering that the penny sitting unnoticed in your drawer has been protected for decades, preserving details that many others have lost through circulation. But don't celebrate just yet. What if the coin you've ignored for years has blazing original color, razor-sharp details, and virtually no signs of wear? Suddenly, you're no longer looking at pocket change. You're looking at something collectors evaluate with incredible precision. A tiny difference in condition can mean the difference between a single cent and thousands of dollars in collector interest. And yes, stories about spectacular auction results have inspired people across America to search through forgotten piggy banks, inherited collections, and dusty coffee cans in the garage. Some headline-grabbing coins have reached astonishing prices because they combined exceptional rarity, elite grading, and extraordinary demand. Those record-setting sales are the exception, not the rule, but they remind us why collectors never stop searching. Here's a question. When was the last time you actually looked at the date on every penny you received in change? Most people never do. That's exactly why exciting discoveries continue to happen. If you own a 1993 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent, examine it carefully under good lighting. Look for strong details in Lincoln's portrait, clean surfaces, original luster, and any unusual characteristics that may deserve professional evaluation. Never clean the coin. Ironically, trying to make it shine can reduce its collector value faster than you can say, "I should have left it alone." The real treasure isn't just finding a valuable coin. It's understanding what makes one truly special. Knowledge turns ordinary searching into smart collecting, and patience often rewards those willing to learn. So before another handful of pennies disappears into a vending machine or a forgotten jar, take one more look. That humble 1993 Lincoln cent may simply be worth 1 cent, or it could be the beginning of an unforgettable discovery. Sometimes life-changing opportunities don't arrive with flashing lights. Sometimes they arrive disguised as the smallest coin in your pocket, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. Have you ever looked at a 2000 Lincoln penny and tossed it into a jar without a second thought? That tiny 1-cent coin could be hiding a story that surprises even experienced collectors. But here's the twist. While most 2000 Lincoln pennies are worth only face value, a handful of extraordinary examples with rare errors or exceptional preservation have stunned the collecting world with astonishing prices. Before you spend another penny, you may want to hear the rest of this story. The year 2000 marked the beginning of a new millennium, and millions of Lincoln cents entered circulation across America. Most people used them for everyday purchases, never imagining that decades later collectors would search through rolls, drawers, and forgotten piggy banks hoping to uncover a remarkable treasure. That's because in coin collecting, rarity is rarely about age alone. Condition, minting mistakes, and demand often create the biggest surprises. Now imagine opening an old coffee can filled with pennies inherited from a family member. You spot a 2000 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. Your first thought might be, it's just another penny. But what if it isn't? What if it displays an unusual error or remains in nearly flawless condition? Suddenly that ordinary coin becomes worth a second look. Here's something that makes many collectors smile. The most valuable coins often hide in the places people never think to search. It's almost as if rare coins enjoy playing hide and seek. And sometimes they win for years. For the 2000 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, collectors carefully inspect every detail. They examine the date, Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, and the reverse design under magnification. They look for double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, dramatic die cracks, or other genuine mint errors that can transform a common coin into an extraordinary collectible. High-grade examples that appear almost untouched also command significant premiums because so few survive in pristine condition. Then the excitement begins. Auction headlines featuring spectacular Lincoln cents often inspire thousands of people to search their own collections. Reports of exceptional coins bringing hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in extremely rare circumstances, claims approaching values around $771,000 for unique, certified, museum-quality specimens with extraordinary characteristics capture everyone's imagination. Those headline prices do not apply to ordinary circulated pennies, but they remind collectors that remarkable discoveries are still possible. So before you celebrate, ask yourself one important question. Has your coin actually been authenticated? Professional grading and authentication separate genuine rarities from ordinary pocket change. That single step can make all the difference between disappointment and an unforgettable discovery. The greatest lesson isn't that every 2000 Lincoln penny is worth a fortune. It's that knowledge creates opportunity. Every collection deserves a careful inspection because the next incredible find won't announce itself. It will simply wait for someone patient enough to notice what everyone else overlooked. So the next time a penny lands in your hand, don't rush to spend it. Take a closer look. Examine every detail. Compare it carefully, because history has a funny way of rewarding those who pay attention, and your next life-changing discovery could be hiding in the smallest coin in your pocket.